One of the longest-serving members of President Trump's cabinet is revealing to CBS News the advice he gave the president on impeachment. Housing and Urban Development Secretary Dr. Ben Carson says he spoke with the president about not giving up, calling the impeachment very immature. He also weighed in on some of the key testimonies during the impeachment hearings.
Throughout the impeachment process, we saw and heard from career civil servants. You work with a lot of career civil servants here. Do you have any reason to doubt that Foreign Service officers who testified in the impeachment proceedings weren't telling the truth?
Well, I mean, they're people. Do people have various reasons for doing things that are not fair? Of course they do. What we really need to be thinking about is the whole concept of fairness.
In a wide-ranging interview, Secretary Carson also explained why he has concerns about possible reparations for descendants of slavery.
When you think about the conversations that have happened regarding reparations, do you think that's something worth considering when you look at the inequity with African-American wealth versus white Americans?
What I would say about reparations is, show me a mechanism that works. I did my DNA analysis. Okay, I'm 77% sub-Saharan African, 20% European, 3% Asian. So how do you proportion that out to everybody?
If you can prove you're a descendant of a slave, though, do you think it's worth having a conversation?
Yeah, but what percentage of money do you get? What percentage of reparation? No one is ever going to be able to work that out.
But nobody considered percentage of what black people look like in the civil rights era. They didn't say, well, we're not going to discriminate against you because you might be partially this or partially that.
Proportionately, you're not going to be able to figure it out. And where do you stop it? It's unworkable. So I would much rather concentrate on how do we provide the opportunities for people to get into a better economic situation.
And make it fair now.
Yes.
And yeah, one of the reasons we asked him about that is just how you look at disproportionately African Americans are in public housing. He talked about that not necessarily being a destination. And then with the program that you'll be hearing more about, a story, FYI, which is people who foster out of the foster care system, age out rather of the foster care system, 20% of them end up homeless immediately. So they've started a program at HUD that will allow people in those situations to have a voucher and have subsidized housing for up to 3 years. But again, giving them something based on the life that they've had and the statistics. So I asked, in seeing what we've seen with African Americans, the wealth gap, is that something that he saw as something worth having a conversation about? And as you heard there, he just said it's too complicated. So.
I find it remarkable that he called the impeachment hearings immature, because I think both Republicans and Democrats would perhaps use the word consequential, but immature, I'm more interested to hear his thoughts about that, too, so I'm looking forward to
it was nice for him to talk to us because, he's someone that doesn't necessarily give a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have more on the program that HUD is doing in reference to the foster care system and people who age out.
The idea also that when you talk about the foster care system, it's like you're starting from a step behind in what you have, and we talk about that a lot with economics as well. Good stuff, Jericka.
Thank you.